Hello there. My name is Kay Byfield, and this is your ArtSpeaks studio moment from ArtSpeaks Studio in Dallas, Texas. Today we're going to talk about flow or being in the zone and how artists experience that and how you can have it happen for you more often. This week I had the experience while I was painting of finding that when I finished, I had a complete lack of sense of time passing. I looked at the clock and went, oh my gosh, is it 4 o'clock already? Because as I had painted, I had been so focused and so in that moment and so confident about what I was doing that I wasn't aware of anything happening outside of myself. Psychologists call that being in the zone or having the flow state of consciousness. And all I can tell you is that it is a very enjoyable and productive place to be, but it isn't predictable. You can't put yourself in that state intentionally. You can't make it happen. You can't flip a switch and be there. You have to set up the circumstances and then it can happen. And I found myself in the flow state a lot more frequently lately. And I've been thinking about that. How is that happening? And I have to admit that I'm having a better time painting. I'm enjoying myself more. I'm thinking about getting into the studio when I can't be in the studio. And I'm reluctant to leave. And all of those are hallmarks of the fact that my painting is feeling like it's I'm getting better and feeling more comfortable and feeling like I actually have the ability to accomplish my goals. I think all of this is resulting from the fact that I have changed my goals somewhat. I've changed my expectations of myself and of my work. And I've removed a lot of the stress that I used to have about the painting process. Wikipedia defines a flow state as the mental state in which a person performing some activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement, and enjoyment in the process of the activity. In essence, flow is characterized by the complete absorption of what one does and a resulting transformation in one's sense of time. Flow states involve intense focus in regard to the task being undertaken. The term originated by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi and was described in his book Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience. If you're interested in creativity and how to maximize that, you might want to read that book. I found it very enlightening. Generally, we associate flow with sports activities or creative activities or scientific endeavors where the person has a level of accomplishment that allows them to operate at fairly high levels with the activity that they're experiencing the flow. You cannot have flow when you're a beginner because you are too uncomfortable and inexperienced to know what to expect and to have confidence in yourself and your abilities. You probably don't know that you're in a flow state when you're in it because if you are conscious enough to know that you are in the flow, you're over it. It's past. It's only after you have the experience where you say to yourself, oh my goodness, I was in the zone, that you realize that you were in a flow state. It would be wonderful if we could all get in the flow whenever we wanted, but that isn't the case. I can't say, today I'm going into the flow. The zone is a special place that it's kind of like you can't will yourself to be in love. You only know it when you've experienced it. And so if you are wanting to get into the flow, which is a very pleasurable, energizing experience, then you need to set up the circumstances to make that work for you. Flow results when the task is challenging, but you are knowledgeable and experienced and have the necessary skills, but yet the challenge is still there because what you're trying to do is a little bit beyond what you know you can actually do. It's also important that the task be limited to a few clearly defined objectives. For instance, you can't say to yourself, today I want to do a good painting. That's just too broad, not specific enough. You need to define exactly what you're trying to accomplish. That kind of a limited objective allows you to get into the flow. So if you just say to yourself, okay, this time I'm going to use a limited palette, it's going to be a split complementary palette, and I'm going to see if I can make that work to support what this painting would be about. Or if you say to yourself, this time I'm going to use nothing but soft edges, or whatever your limited objective is, you are much likelier of finding yourself in the flow. And when you finish the piece, you can judge whether or not you were successful in accomplishing those objectives without feeling like you failed because you're not dealing with every aspect of the painting. You're only dealing with specific ones. I found that there's a few things that really work for me and have made a big difference in the probability that I'm going to have one of those pleasurable, productive painting experiences. What I have found works for me is I have to carve out time that is just going to be for painting, where there's not going to be anything else on my mind, that I don't expect myself to be doing anything else, and that I'm not going to feel guilty because I'm not doing something else. So I have to say, okay, on Tuesday I'm going to paint starting at 1 o'clock, and I'm going to paint at least until dinner. And know that I don't plan to go pay bills, I don't have to run any errands, I don't have to go to the grocery store. I'm not going to do anything else, and I'm not going to feel guilty about painting on Tuesday. I also, like I said before, have to have limited objectives. I have to say to myself, this painting is about movement. I'm going to show that everything is moving within this painting, and I'm going to use my brush strokes and my color choices and my value choices to support that objective. And then it doesn't matter whether the composition is not quite there. I will just release myself to what I'm trying to do and be at peace with the fact that I may have to do the painting over again to adjust things that I didn't deal with in the earlier painting. And eventually it will all come together in a piece that I'm pleased with. Your goals have to be challenging. They have to stretch you. They have to take you beyond what you really know how you're going to do. What you're going to do. You can't just phone it in. It has to be something that you're not quite sure you can really do. And this is applicable to anything. So you've been bowling and you've had 3 strikes in a row. You're going to go for 5 strikes in this game. And you're just going to see if you can focus on putting the ball in the right place. You're not going to worry about your score. You're not going to worry about the competitors. You're only going to focus on the ball and the way you're delivering it. That is when you are more likely to get in flow. And I found that when I measure my success by incremental improvements rather than the overall success of a piece, that's more likely to free me up so that I can get in the zone. I also have found that if I work on several projects simultaneously, I do a lot better. And so then what happens is I'm working on a piece, it's going well, and then all of a sudden I realize there's a problem with some aspect of it, and I don't know how to resolve that problem. Rather than pushing through and continuing to try to solve the problems with that piece, I just set it aside and I pick up a different piece. If I do that, I stay happier, And what I'm really doing is having confidence that I will figure out how to resolve the problem while I'm working on something else. I find that works a lot. Feeling like you're in the zone is really exciting because it makes work fun. You suddenly find yourself being productive and you feel more capable, and you can take the joy in the fact that you're doing things now that you couldn't have done before. And that lays the groundwork for the next level of accomplishment. So it's a wonderful state of being. There are some ways that you can set yourself up to be more likely to get in the flow. And one of those is, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Don't expect yourself to be perfect. Don't expect every painting to be a masterpiece. If you just take your wins and capitalize on those and stretch yourself, you will have a lot more fun with your work, and you will be more likely to find yourself in the zone. I hope these suggestions are helpful to you. I wish you a lot of painting with flow. And until next time, happy painting.